Back. We're still here. Is the United States, though, betraying Europe? It's a provocative question, but after the lecture they received from Vice President Vance and the messaging to Ukraine, we have to ask, and here's why. The Trump administration spent the week distancing itself from the nation that was invaded by Russia, saying quips like, Ukraine could become Russia one day. His first call to start peace negotiations was an invite to Vladimir Putin to come to the United States for the discussion. The second call was the president of the country Putin invaded unprovoked, Volodymyr Zelensky. And then there was this. Trump is echoing Russia's talking points for its rationale for its war.
Now, Russia's taken over a pretty big chunk of territory, and they also have said from day one, long before President Putin, they've said they cannot have Ukraine be in NATO. They said that very strongly. I actually think that that was the thing that caused the start of the war. And Biden said it, and Zelensky said it, and I think that was one of the reasons, one of the starts of the war.
All right, that is exactly what Russia says as to one of its reasons. They did not call it war at first. It was illegal in Russia to use the word war for the longest time. People are dying. I was there on the ground. It is a war beyond wars.
They call it military operation.
They call it a military operation.
Yep.
It is not. It is a war. So to you, Melik, when you hear these words parroted, exactly the same words that were used by Putin and in Russia, is this a betrayal straight out of Ukraine?
Some people will look at it that way, but I think when you consider what we're now in 3 years into this war, there was the World Economic Forum, there was another event, I think somewhere in Switzerland, where Ukraine, they've hosted these peace summits. In each of these, Russia was not present. So I think it's a very good thing that Donald Trump is at least talking to Putin, because the world has pretty much shut him out. You can't have a peace summit without inviting the other party there. So I think it's absolutely significant. But if you listen to Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense said that this issue of this possibility of Ukraine getting NATO membership, it is a no. And if you consider what our military has said, even last year, you have military analysts saying that Ukraine, this is aside from the 2014 borders, that Ukraine was unlikely to get any of the territory that Russia has gotten so far. I think that it is now time to have a serious conversation about our investment in Ukraine. And I think that Donald Trump is doing the right thing with forcing these sides to actually talk, because Europe was not interested in doing it.
Except he's giving away the store before it happens. I mean, why would you say we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that? And then the whole thing about territory. I mean, you know, someone pointed this out in Britain. What part of the United States would you give away if Canada invaded? Would it be Maine or Michigan? I don't know. And if they were in it, Russia was the invader here. And right now they're talking about you can't be in NATO. We're going to let them keep their territory. It just feels like you don't negotiate ahead of yourself. You have a firm stance. And they had to pull it all back.
I think part of the problem is that we've been negotiating really with one side all of this time. If you think about a few months ago, the whole idea of sending the ATACMS to Ukraine, it was supposed to put them in a better negotiating position. I haven't really checked lately, but I don't know if Ukraine is in a better position today than before we sent the ATACMS to them.
Well, I think Biden was a bit stymied, right? Biden had this reflexive, and Obama had it as well, this reflexive, like, don't get involved, but actually get involved. And you know, the red lines, and we're going to help them, but we're not going to help them. And that really kind of split the baby, and I don't think was very effective in moving things along. But Trump is just coming out and saying what he says he never wants to do, which is give it away and tell people in advance what he's going to do. To a very important point, Ukraine is an ally. This is a way we're talking about an ally. And I can't imagine how heartbreaking and terrifying it must be for Ukraine to hear this. So far, it's just words. And rhetorically, both Vance, Trump, and Secretary of Defense Hegseth, which always makes me laugh, have rhetorically, for sure, betrayed an ally with their words. We still have to see if anything can happen here that would actually put an end to this awful, awful, tragic war.
Yeah, I'm really, really shocked by a lot of this from a historical standpoint. I mean, this is unlike what any Republican president would ever do. To have a foe like Russia and the history of the region there, and just even knowing what the history of it is in our relationship to them. And to me, the Trump and all of them, they're engaging what I call ventriloquist diplomacy. Like Putin talks and Trump moves his mouth, basically, and it's just shocking to me. I've never seen anything like it. And so I think for all intents and purposes, the Republican Party basically is gone on the world stage, and it's the Trump Party. This is
there
what they
have been
do.
some senators who've pushed back. There's several. The head of the Foreign Relations Committee, everything else is saying Russia is the enemy. Let's keep that in mind.
Senator Roger Wicker talked about what Hegseth did, which was basically giving away the plan that America has and messaging to Russia and to Ukraine and to Europe. Here's what the United States is going to do. We're not going to do this, and we're going to let Russia keep this, pre-2014 border and blah, blah, blah. So this is what Senator Wicker said about all of this.
Look, everybody knows, and and people in the administration know, you don't say before your first meeting what you will agree to and what you won't agree to.
Yeah, I was puzzled by that, too.
Yeah, well, I was puzzled, too, and I was disturbed. I was disturbed by it.
He's not only disturbed, but he called it a rookie mistake. And I'm going to just throw this out there so that you guys can pounce on it. There's been a lot of talk about DEI lately, and a lot of talk about how people are not well versed and well educated that's how they see DEI. Is Hegseth ready for this? Because he's calling it a rookie mistake.
I don't know. No. There's so many good people they could have had running the Defense Department. This guy is not qualified in any way. The joke that among the comics was DUI, but it was. I'm sorry, it was a meme on. It was
Change the letters. Yeah.
Change the letters.
Right.
No, he's not qualified in any way. And look at what he did. It's not a rookie mistake. It's someone who's unqualified for the job. No insult, but Larry would be a better Secretary of Defense.
Well, the other thing it's such a snotty approach to government too, is the erasing of institutional knowledge. And when you get rid of the people who are actually doing the hard work in a lot of these departments, by this Doge thing or whatever it is, you are losing your ability to have a starting point that is based on history, And now people's opinions are the thing that fly, So a Trump opinion is the thing that matters, not the history of negotiations, the history of the region and all these factors that are very important in these types of negotiations, which people who are much smarter than I will ever be in this know, because they've been in these situations year after year after year, and they know that. They're not Democrat, Republican. It's the institutions that count, but they don't care. They're very snotty about that. That really upsets me a lot.
We're going to come back to this. So first, we're going to do a little bit about this First Amendment fight at the White House over what to call an international body of water. My panel will debate the slippery slope.